Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. And we welcome you officially to the ceremony to mark the change in chairmanship of the ECCB Monetary Council. Please stand. At this time, I would like to invite Mrs. Dawn Smith, the Governor General's Deputy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The incoming chairman of the ECCB Monetary Council, the Honorable Camila Gonçalves, Minister of Finance, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The outgoing chairman of the ECCB Monetary Council, the Honorable Philip J. Pear, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance for St. Lucia. The Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance, Monetary Council Member for Anguilla, Dr. Ellis Webster. The Honorable Minister of Finance and Monetary Council Member for Grenada, Dennis Cornwall. The Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance, Monetary Council Member for Montserrat, Joseph Farrell. And Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy N.J. Antoine. Please put our hands together in appreciation. We'll now have the national anthems of the countries. We will begin with the national anthem of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This will be followed by the national anthem of Anguilla, the national anthem of Grenada, the national anthem of Montserrat, and the national anthem of St. Lucia. the national anthems of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Anguilla, Grenada, Montserrat, and St. Lucia. I now invite to the lectern to do today's invocation, Pastor Shane Franklin of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Shall we bow our heads? Our Father in heaven, ruler of this universe, the one who inhabits our praises, we give you thanks and praise for your bounteous of blessings to us as your children. We are happy to know that amidst the various challenges that we interfaced on a day-to-day basis, that you still dwell with us and you still rule the affairs of our lives and our nations. We thank you in a special way for this occasion and the ways you have guided even within the various financial sectors within our Caribbean region. We ask now for thy bounteous of blessings upon this ceremony, and in a special way, Lord, be with the outgoing chairman, and even now may your hands be laid in a special way to anoint the incoming chairman, even our own here, Mr. and the Honorable Camilo Gonzalez. Bless him immensely, Father. Give him wisdom beyond his age and years, and that through his leadership, God, the region will be impacted even more in a positive direction. Into your hands now I commit the entire proceeding, and to seek thy blessings in every form and way, to the glory and honor of your name. Together we pray in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you. Just allow for the arrival of the pupils from the C.W. Prescott Primary School who are now joining us. We'll continue with the proceedings, and I'll now invite to the lectern to bring the opening remarks. Timothy N.J. Antwine, ECCB Governor. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Mrs. Dawn Smith, Governor General's Deputy. The Honorable Montgomery Daniel, Acting Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Honorable Philip J. Pear, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of St. Lucia and outgoing Chairman of the Monetary Council. The Honorable Camilo Gonzalez, Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and incoming Chairman of the Monetary Council. Other members of the Monetary Council, members of the Cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, members of Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Deputy Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Dr. Valda Henry, Chief Director for Policy, Ms. Tracy Poulias, other ECCB colleagues, management and staff, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Mr. Edmund Jackson, Director General of Finance and Planning and Board Member for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, other board members, permanent secretaries and heads of departments, trade unionists, other specially invited guests. May I also recognize the principal, teachers, and students of the C.W. Prescott Primary School, which is ECCB's mentorship school in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, members of the media, citizens, residents, and friends of the Currency Union. Greetings and good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Right, the blood should be flowing now. Very good. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome each of you to the handing over ceremony that marks the change in chairmanship in the Monetary Council. Today, the chairmanship of the Monetary Council passes from the council member for St. Lucia to the council member for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I seize this opportunity to welcome our newest council member, the Honorable Dennis Cornwall, Minister of Finance for Grenada, who is attending his very first meeting. I place on record our thanks to Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell for his service on the Monetary Council over the past year. I wish to thank the outgoing chairman for his strong commitment and stewardship in a difficult year. Chairman, thank you very much. Appreciated you and your availability. During his tenure, the Council made several decisions that supported monetary and financial stability and advanced both our legislative and transformation agenda. Article 7.2 of the ECCB agreement states, and I quote, "The Council shall meet not less than twice each year to receive from the Governor the Bank's report on monetary and credit conditions and to provide directives and guidelines on matters of monetary and credit policy to the Bank and for such other purposes as are prescribed under this agreement." End of quote. Today, I confirm that our EC dollar remains strong with a current foreign reserves backing of 92%. Now keep in mind the law requires us to be at 60. We're at 92 and climbing. Notwithstanding the pandemic, a 1 in 100-year event, our currency passed the test with flying colors. A monetary council convenes at a time of great uncertainty for the global economy. According to the IMF, real growth in the global economy is now projected to be 2.8% this year and 3.3% next year. These forecasts are accompanied by significant risks to financial stability and a possible recession due to restrictive monetary policy. That's another word for saying rising interest rates, monetary tightening. And lest we forget, there is the ever-present existential threat of climate change. And if perchance there are still doubters and deniers of climate change, our world experienced the hottest week earlier this month, the hottest week on record. And our planet is now perilously close to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. I think most of you know we hit 1% in 2017. And the projection is between now and 2030, we could hit 1.5 during that period in more than 1 year. That's how serious the situation is. Indeed, the heat is truly on. Who would have thought that the US Federal Reserve, the US Central Bank, would have raised interest rates from almost 0% to 5% in a 12-month period? And that even in the face of largely resolved supply chains and unprecedented monetary policy action, inflation would prove to be so stubborn to subdue. The good news is that inflation appears to have peaked and is now falling. However, projections indicate that inflation may not return to its 2% target before late 2024 or early 2025. Why is inflation, even when you strip out food and energy prices, so stubborn? What we call core inflation. The latest thinking among central banks is that the monetary policy transmission mechanism is slower and more muted. And that's for several reasons. One, the delayed start of monetary tightening, disrupted supply chains, the changing world of work, where many people left the labor market during the pandemic and never returned, thereby reducing the supply of skills and forcing up labor costs as firms fight for talent. And that many households now have fixed-rate mortgages, so fewer households were immediately impacted by higher mortgage rates. Of course, there's a war in Ukraine with no end in sight. Whatever the reasons for this stubborn inflation, that's the bad news. The good news is that inflation is coming down, though not fast enough. As a consequence, the global economy has now shifted from a period where interest rates were low for long to a period where interest rates will be high for longer. because the central banks have decided that they will have to do whatever it takes to get inflation under control. What does this all mean for our currency union? Our latest projections are for growth of about 6.5% this year and about 5% next year, on the back of a strong rebound in tourism and some improvement in connectivity. I say some because a year ago we lamented the situation. There has been some improvement, though it is less than satisfactory. Can we all agree to that? Yes, we can. So it's a work in progress. A possible US recession in 2024 would impact our prospects for 2025. But at this juncture, it is simply too early to tell. Based on the current track of US inflation, inflation in the ECCU should continue to fall. That said, geopolitical events could impact this projection. For example, earlier this week, we learned of the withdrawal of Russia from the agreement to facilitate safe passage of grain from Ukraine through the Black Sea. That could have implications for us with respect to food and even fertilizer. Moreover, climatic events such as floods and droughts could also feature. The big push. At the launch of our 40th anniversary celebrations in January, I posed the question, what will it take to double the size of our economy over the next 10 years? And I issued a challenge for a big push. The question is pellucidly provocative and a propeller for conversation and commitments around the future of our region. At the heart of this challenge is really, what future do we want for ourselves? And what will be our roles in it individually and collectively? In simple numeric terms, this stretch target would require the ECCU to grow by at least 10% in at least 7 of the next 10 years. Implicit also is that our currency union would absorb or avoid major shocks and development setbacks. It would also necessitate a shift in mindset of leaders and citizens energized by a strong consensus around our development path. Concerted and accelerated action in the identified theaters of transformation, wealth creation, credit expansion, food and nutrition security, tourism, energy security, digital transformation, and very importantly, human capital formation. It will also require a modern and energized public sector that is fit for the 21st century, with the capacity to facilitate the private sector and drive faster implementation of major public sector projects. Also, a more entrepreneurial and risk-taking private sector that is less reliant on state initiative. And finally, for now, access to climate capital to build resilience. Now, this list is not exhaustive, but I've just offered you a few more suggestions as we think about the question. Let me conclude. The Dublin enterprise requires an all-of-society approach. In short, we must be all in. I conclude then with my oft-repeated declaration, and you will hear me say this over and over again, because I truly believe it. As a region, we cannot change our history, and we cannot change our geography, but together we can elevate our development trajectory through innovation and collective action. May God crown all of our efforts with resounding success. I thank you. And now, I am pleased to invite the members of the C.W. Prescott Primary School, ECCB's mentorship school in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to present a choral speech. Give it up for C.W. Prescott Primary. And of course, I want to recognize its principal, Mrs. Suzette King, and the teacher who assisted with putting together this speech chorale, or this choral speech Miss Felicia Alexander. You're going to enjoy this. Take a look.
Good morning. Yes, good morning. We saying it with joy. Togetherness is a hell of a thing. Ah boy, enough accomplishments it does bring. Who would have imagined the day when children are sing and pray, giving thanks to this outstanding institution for their genuine contribution and the financial growth and development of this nation. Yes, the time has come. We are sing the gratitude song. You know gratitude is a must. We are living proof of their financial education trust. But wait, what are we talking about? You really asking me such questions? It's my bank, your bank, the People's Bank, the ECCB, the Bank of the Eastern Caribbean. Benefiting our citizens in St. Vincent, Antigua and Barbuda,
St. Kitts, Nevis, and Grenada,
Montserrat, Anguilla, and Dominica, not forgetting St. Lucia. Now ask me where it originates, are we own to celebrate. It's homegrown, it's indigenous, born and bred by us. Thank heavens the founding fathers had such a vision to create such an institution. What a unification! One people, one bank, one region. 40 years and still going. Day by day it's growing. Stronger and stronger it's getting. More and more services it's providing. Meeting needs, sowing seeds, teaching where it matters most, steering the financial course, strengthening the foundations with and for our future generation. ECCB, we salute you.
Bastia, but give them another round of applause, please. That was wonderful. I first heard this last September when we were here for Country Outreach. Surprised, they presented that to our team, and we were blown away by this. And when we did our launch in January, we asked them to perform, which they did. And of course, we could not come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and not ask them to do it. Give them another round of applause. If the principal and teacher didn't have to raise these young minds, we would hire them on the spot. We have tokens for them, which our Director for Corporate Relations, Sherman and Kirby, will distribute to you. Thank you again, C.W. Prescott. I love it. Good. Let's move on now. Back to some remarks. And I'm now very pleased to invite our outgoing chairman, Prime Minister Pear, to address us.
Thank you very much, Governor. Let me join the Governor in asking you to give another round of applause to them. And remember they asked you not to forget St. Lucia. Mrs. Dawn Smith, Governor General's Deputy, the Honorable Montgomery Daniel, Acting Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Honorable Camilo Gonzalez, Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and incoming Chairman of the Monetary Council, Mr. Timothy Antoine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, members of the Cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, other members of Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, heads of delegations of member states of the ECCB, Dr. Val F. Henry, Deputy Governor of the ECCB, Mrs. D. Tracy Polius, Chief Director Policy of the ECCB, board members and advisors, management and staff of the ECCB, members of the media, people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Good morning to all. Good morning. First, let me express my appreciation for the hospitality extended by the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to my delegation. I forgot to mention the Minister of Finance in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, the Youth Economy, Mr. Honorable Wayne Girard. The government and people of this beautiful country have demonstrated the true meaning of resilience in the face of adversity. We bear witness to your recovery in the aftermath of the recent volcanic eruptions. We also hail the completion of the international airport and the establishment of the medicinal cannabis industry. Today's ceremony is no short its significance. With great optimism and unwavering confidence, I pass the mantle of chairmanship of the Monetary Council to the Honorable Camilo Gonzalez, Minister of Finance of St. Vincent. Before I continue, permit to extend a hand of friendship and welcome to the newest council member, the Honorable Dennis Cornwall of Grenada, who is attending his very first council meeting. I wish the Honorable Cornwall well in his new ministerial assignments. This year, our central bank is celebrating its 40th anniversary. The ECCB is a pillar of strength and stability of our region. I commend the governor and other members of the executive management and staff, as well as all past governors and alumni, for their exemplary service to our currency union over the past 4 decades. The bank has been a model for Caribbean unity, and the fact that our currency has remained stable is testimony to the benefit of monetary and soon economic integration. When I began my tenure as chairman, the International Monetary Fund forecasts for global growth were 3.6% for 2022 and 2023. Since then, the IMF has downgraded global growth. While the worst of COVID-19 seems behind us, there is still trouble in the world. The world is plagued by the other C, including climate change. The reality of destructive climatic events was felt as recently as last month when Tropical Storm Brett formed early in the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season. Brett caused damage across several sectors in St. Lucia, including agriculture, which saw extensive damage to over 70% of our banana and plantain crops. The global economic recovery is fragile, while countries large and small affected by high inflation, and there is as yet no end in sight for the war in Ukraine, a war we did not start, but for which we are suffering. Robust government policies, programs, and projects, as well as the resolve of our people, have helped propel economic recovery in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Growth in the ECCU accelerated to 8.9% in 2022 from a rate of 5.8% in 2021. This welcome recovery followed an unprecedented economic contraction, averaging 16.5% in 2020. During my tenure as chairman, the Monetary Council advanced the people-focused agenda, which I articulated 1 year ago. So there is still work to be done. Undoubtedly, inflation is one of the most pressing policy issues. Consumer price inflation in the ECCU surged past pre-pandemic levels, from 0.4% in 2019 to 6.7% in 2022. Unlike some advanced economies, we are unable to use monetary policy to manage inflation. Member governments have done their best to cushion the impact of rising food and fuel prices through tax cuts and social safety programs. The Monetary Council placed additional focus on advocacy, consumer education, and protection. In St. Lucia, for example, a consumer protection law came into effect early last year. Our regional financial system has withstood many tests over the years. We must ensure its continued stability. Member governments made strides in implementing a legislative reform program to enhance financial sector resilience in the ECCU. The enactment of legislation is now approximately 75% complete. During the past year, a draft Eastern Caribbean Deposit Insurance Corporation Agreement and bill was completed. The implementation of this bill will allow for the protection of depositors of licensed financial institutions. The Monetary Council also supported work to make it easier for our people to access credit. To the end, a regional credit bureau will be launched in Antigua and Barbuda this year. A financial inclusion and literacy survey was recently completed in all ECCU member countries. The findings of this survey will inform our strategy on financial inclusion, and work has commenced on the establishment of an Office for Financial Conduct to deliver effective consumer protection. Ongoing strategic initiatives include those for wealth creation, as well as food and nutrition and energy security. For wealth creation, there was a launch of the ECCU's first mutual fund in May of this year. National initiatives to bolster food security include crop programs and export projects. Work continues to develop a renewable energy infrastructure investment facility and to tap into the green climate finance markets. I issue a clarion call to social partners to support these growth initiatives. In St. Lucia, we launched a youth economy agency and are supporting more women's involvement in agriculture. The Monetary Council continued to support initiatives for the enhancement of the payment system of the ECCU. Supported by the Caribbean Transformation Project, key milestones within the past year are approval of the Payment System and Services Bill and the drafting of the Payment Systems and Services Regulations, ongoing drafting of the Payment System Oversight Policy and the Payment System Vision and Strategy. Work on the draft Data Protection and Privacy Policy, which should inform development of the Data Protection and Privacy Bill and the drafting of the Virtual Assets Business Regulations. The recovery of the ECCU is well on the way. However, there are some worrying downsides. The threat of climate change. Our region is the most vulnerable in the entire world, and one hurricane can completely wipe out the economy of any member of the ECCU. Floods, droughts, and unseasonal weather are becoming more frequent and dangerous. Then there is a hostile international political and economic environment that threatens to break our resolve at economic diversification and improve quality of life for our people. These are indeed challenging times, but history has shown that our people and institutions are resilient and can overcome any obstacle with unity, discipline, and hard work. Let us protect the gains we have made and continue to aspire to improve the quality of life of our people. Let us follow the advice of the esteemed Prime Minister of St. Vincent, the Honorable Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, in his book, where he said, it's a time of despair, and never ever despair, and remain together, sound, stable, and strong. I thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Pei, our outgoing chairman. And in case you're wondering, you heard about legislation, just keep in mind, almost nothing that we do in our central bank, your central bank, can be done without enabling legislation. So if you think about our currency, ECCB agreement. Supervision of banks, the Banking Act. And I can go on and on. That's why legislation is important. Keep that in mind, to help protect you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to invite to the podium the incoming chairman of the Monetary Council, the Honorable Camilo M. Gonzalez, Minister of Finance of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Let's make him welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Mrs. Dawn Smith, Governor General's Deputy, Acting Prime Minister Montgomery Daniel, Governor Antwine, the Honorable Prime Minister of St. Lucia, our outgoing chair, other members of the Monetary Council, members of the Cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'd like to highlight our newest cabinet member, the Honorable Senator Banava Brown, Minister of Urban Planning, Ports, Energy, etc., and youngest member of the Cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Other members of Parliament, heads of delegation of member states to the Monetary Council, senior officials of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, members of our Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Mr. Edmund Jackson, our Director General of Finance and Planning, permanent secretaries and heads of department. I noticed the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Tourism and Culture. We were out very late last night. I can say that because her husband is sitting next to her. The trade unions, specially invited guests, members of the media. I'd like to recognize as well our esteemed Commissioner of Police, who we know is operating with tremendous responsibilities at the moment, and I want to express the full solidarity of the government and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in your very important work, sir. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, my first caveat is that my speech was stolen by the children of C.W. Prescott, so I'm going to have to make something else up now. And I want to thank you for your wonderful presentation and apologize to you because I know school is out and it must be hard to put on your school uniform when school is not in session. But thank you, you guys did a wonderful job. My second caveat is that the staff of the central bank seemed inordinately concerned with how long my remarks would be. And I want to assure them that it will not be a Gonzalesian speech today. On behalf of the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I'm delighted to welcome visiting delegations to Hairuna, to Urimen, to the Gem of the Antilles. Last week, while transiting Barbados en route to Brussels, I had the opportunity to ask a Bajan couple if they were miffed when Prime Minister Mia Mottley recently publicly characterized St. Vincent and the Grenadines as God's place on earth. How could we, they said. Mia talked the truth. I invite all of you to enjoy some of the unique offerings of St. Vincent and the Grenadines before you depart. You have the good fortune of being temporary residents of easily the greatest constituency in the entire country. So, memorable moments are within your reach. Today, I am deeply honored, to accept the chairmanship of the Monetary Council for the first time since I was honored to assume the role of Minister of Finance in 2017. I do not take this responsibility lightly. I add my voice in welcoming our newest member, the Honorable Dennis Cornwall, Minister of Finance for Grenada. Welcome, sir, to the Council. I will note, however, Dennis, that I noticed a troubling level of fraternity between you and the governor of the central bank this morning. And we'll be monitoring that, because the governor must be impartial in all matters, not because he's a Grenadian. Prime Minister Pierre, I wish to thank you for your leadership and commitment over the past year as our currency union pursued economic recovery, despite myriad domestic and global challenges. The lasting and invaluable legacy of Prime Minister Pierre's first stint as chairman was his insistence that the work of the ECCB not take place in a vacuum or in abstract, but that work is inextricably connected to the lives and livelihoods of the citizens of our currency union, particularly in a time of unprecedented challenges. As all manner of social ills beset our developmental aspirations, and as events in Kingstown tragically reminded us only 2 nights ago, Prime Minister Pierre's clarion call will continue to guide us. When the governor was speaking about the new thinking, he was talking about the rising inflation, and he said, well, the new thinking is this. And he listed a number of reasons. It reminded me of a quote that, and I apologize to you before I give the quote, I apologize to Edmund as well, that an economist is someone who will tell you tomorrow why the prediction that he made yesterday didn't take place today. And because of that, because things change in economics, you're reminded of another quote, that who feels it knows it. And it is that connection and that insistence on people-centered policy for which we will be eternally grateful to Prime Minister Pierre's leadership, and I thank you, sir, for that leadership. Governor Antoine, thank you so much for your astute leadership and for the work that you and your team have advocated, advised on, and advanced in service of the development of our region. The last few years were not easy, and the fact that the governor of the central bank can stand here today and say that the backing of the currency is at 92%, and that we have weathered the worst of the COVID storm is tremendous testimony to not only his leadership, but the work of his entire team, and we're very grateful for the work that you've done, sir. As has been evident over the past 4 decades, the role of the ECCB remains pivotal to our region's growth and development agenda. As the bank commemorates its Ruby anniversary this year, we reflect on the legacies of our predecessors and are grateful to them for their yeoman service. We celebrate our stellar accomplishments with gratitude and humility. With strong solidarity, determination, and collective action, we look forward to accelerated implementation of the transformative policies and programs which have helped us to navigate tempestuous times and are now helping to make our region more resilient. Governor Antoine, I welcome your call for the big push in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. I am someone who's very impatient for change and transformation, and I always get excited when someone in a leadership position like the governor steps forward and says, let's stop talking about incremental progress. Let's talk about what it takes to leap forward. And Bob Marley has a song where he says, we've been treading on the wine press much too long, and maybe it's time to rebel. And there's an element of rebelliousness in his call for the big push to double GDP in the region. And I think that if we set our goals high, we will accomplish great things. Although it is encouraging to hear you say that most other economies in the ECCU will join St. Vincent and the Grenadines in returning to pre-pandemic levels by the end of this year or next year, we must acknowledge at the same time that 2019, which is what we're returning to, was not that great a year. And in support of the big push, the Monetary Council will give special attention to the following priorities during my chairmanship. First being financial stability. Without financial stability, higher and sustained growth outcomes for our region are simply not possible. Only 2 months ago, the bank, in partnership with the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and our government, took decisive action to resolve First St. Vincent Bank. And I recognize Derry Williams, who performed brilliantly in that particular action. As always, the interest of depositors and ultimately financial stability remains paramount. The Monetary Council will continue policy initiatives to maintain financial stability. These include the development of a deposit insurance framework and the full operationalization of the Regional Credit Bureau. I confirm that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has already enacted the credit reporting bill and issued credit reporting regulations. This credit bureau is essential to make more credit readily available to businesses at large and large and small businesses, but especially small businesses. It is no more in our currency union that your loan should depend on who you know or who is your friend or what's your name. This is about making sure that credit is available to everyone who has demonstrated the ability to pay their bills, and that's a very important matter of inclusion. The work on establishing a regional standard-setting body for all financial institutions, banks and non-banks, in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union is urgent and will be accelerated. The first order of business is addressing the current challenges to opening a bank account. According to the recently concluded Financial Literacy and Financial Inclusion Survey undertaken by the Central Bank, approximately 1 in 2, that's half of the people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, do not have a bank account. And 1 in 4, that's a quarter of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have neither a bank account nor a credit union account. The survey also found that one of the main reasons why these persons do not possess a bank account is because of the difficulties inherent in opening a bank account. I commend the bank for undertaking this inaugural survey. I'm advised that the full report will be launched in September and anticipate an ambitious action plan to promote financial literacy and financial inclusion here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The next priority item would be digitalization. For our region to make the big push, and I fully endorse the call for the big push, we need to embrace the promise of the digital economy while avoiding its potential pitfalls. Far too many of our people are still not connected. For too long, I have made the observation that regional connectivity is overpriced, underpowered, and unreliable. While the situation is improving steadily, we still have a long way to go. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is committed to making broadband connectivity more accessible and affordable, while holding our telecommunications companies accountable for delivering the speeds and uptime for which they so readily charge. High-speed broadband connectivity is an imperative, not just for employment opportunities for our youth, but also for modernizing our payment systems and supporting our small businesses as we strive for greater financial inclusion. The Central Bank will advance a harmonized space for digital financial services providers to innovate and expand seamlessly across our borders, while fulfilling its role in the regulatory oversight and promotion of digital financial services. The Central Bank is a key partner in the $96 million World Bank funded Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, which will advance the digital ecosystem, digital infrastructure, platforms and services, and enhancement of digital skills and entrepreneurship in 4 members of the currency union. The lessons learned in that project will permeate all member states of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. In the ECCU, we're moving to the issue of energy. Fossil fuels still power about 90% of our collective energy mix. In other words, only 10% of our energy is provided or powered by renewables. Here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, about 20% of our energy is powered by renewables, primarily hydro. Our current energy mix is a major reason for the relatively high electricity prices in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The Monetary Council will promote policies that help increase the use of renewables in the ECCU in a manner that is equitable, affordable, and responsible. To that end, over the next year, the Central Bank will advance work on the Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility. Of necessity, that includes establishing a green finance market in the ECCU and continued lobbying of our international partners for access to grants and concessional funding to address our ongoing climate emergency. Governor, you said we're over 1 degree now. The number as of last week was 1.17 degrees. So we're almost at 1.2 degrees over pre-industrial levels. And when we cross 1.5, literally, it's time to start heading for the hills. I applaud the governor and his team for leading by example through the ECCB Campus Greening Project. And congratulations to the ECCB for winning the Caribbean Renewable Energy Forum's 2023 award for Best Microgrid Project. Congratulations. If you go to St. Kitts, you will see that their entire parking lot is covered by solar panels, which allows people to park in the shade under the panels and also power the luxurious campus that they inhabit. And I've asked the governor to share with us, because we have a little parking lot next to our building as well, the information about the contractor and the project, so that we can learn from this best practice. And I hope that is something that is contagious and it spreads across the region. In conclusion, as you didn't expect conclusions so quickly, did you? As chairman of the Monetary Council, I pledge to work tirelessly to advance our region's transformation agenda, building on the strong foundation laid by my predecessors, including Prime Minister Pierre, and dating back to the very ancient history of Prime Minister Gonzalez, who also did some important work in this currency union. I readily acknowledge that our challenges are many and varied, but so are the opportunities, especially when small states work together. So many of our vulnerabilities are rooted in our small size. As such, so much of our potential for resilience is connected to our ability to become larger than the sum of our individual islands through solidarity, cooperation, and collective action. Let us then commit to act in solidarity, comradeship, and collaboration for the advancement of our Caribbean civilization. The Prime Minister Pierre quoted Prime Minister Gonzalez's book saying it's a time for despair. I think there's probably a rule against quoting it twice in the same meeting, but it is a time coming out of crisis for fresh hope. It is a time for greater unity, not fragmentation. And it is a time for us to realize the benefit and the value of the institutions we have and the role that these institutions can play in carrying us forward. May we all say, long live the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, long live the Central Bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our new chairman of the Monetary Council, the Honorable Camilo Michael Gonzalez. And I should just add to his long live, forward ever, backward never. That's why I said that. That's exactly why I said that. Just in the interest of full transparency, I must tell you that I merely assisted Minister Cornwall fixing his collar before we entered the room. Full transparency. Having been invited by our new chairman, so to do. I know for him this was a warm-up, but we are grateful. The truth is, we did suggest about 10 minutes. And the reason why we did that is because we have a meeting after this ceremony. And then we have a media conference after the meeting. And I think we have a lecture this evening at 6. So that's why we said, try and keep it around 10 minutes. We never liked to muzzle ministers, but we had to give a little guidance. So you would forgive me if you didn't get your lengthy treat, but I'm sure you enjoyed the treat that you got. And by the way, next time he tells you he'll be short, you need to applaud enthusiastically. If you look long, he will have to go for longer. Just a little hint from my 30 years of experience in the vineyard of public service. At this moment, thank you again, Chairman, new Chairman. I thank you again for these remarks. And you gave us your marching orders, clear marching orders, and we will, of course, be guided. Before we conclude, we have an item from, again, the youth of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is my pleasure now to invite to the podium Miss Hannah Archibald. And I should tell you, as part of our corporate social responsibility, we do a number of things to support youth, one of which recently was a songwriting competition. We did it in collaboration with the Regional Security Service, RSS system, ARU. We call it a Creative Youth Songwriting Competition. And the first place winners for the category of ages 13 to 16, first place winners for age category 13 to 16 came from St. Joseph Convent in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the writers, songwriters for that, those winners are Hannah Archibald, Lanya Bullock, and Kiosha Burke. Hannah will now render the song, and it is about social media influencing our behavior. Give it up for Hannah Archibald, the latest song star in the ECCU.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity. Enjoy. I want my childhood back. Don't use me for views. That's social media abuse. I can't pretend to be someone else with your misguided values. So don't confuse me with other children, 'cause all I want to be is me. It's not too late for things to change. Peer pressure, anxiety, neglecting our identity. It's not too late for things to change. Cyberbullying, fake images, misuse for your Facebook views. I want to find myself and have my own identity. Share creative ideas, explore without fear. Together, let's volunteer. We need some self-control. Violence is getting old. Parents, we need your support. So won't you help us to find a way to be who God created us to be? pressure, anxiety, neglecting our identities. It's not too late for things to change. Cyberbullying, fake images, misuse for your Facebook views. I want to find myself and have my own identity. Online perfection, a big deception. Posting your happy pics, giving misdirections. You want the likes and the scrolls and the thirsty comments without actually trying to enjoy the childhood moments. Be on social media trying to act the fool. I'm trying to get good grades and make friends in school. Hair and the nails on a perfect face. Just open up your ears and hear what I'm saying. It's not too late for things to change. Peer pressure, anxiety, neglecting our identity. It's not too late for things to change. Cyberbullying, fake images, misuse for your Facebook views. I want to find myself and have my own identity. My own identity. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you to Minister Gonsalves. I'm proud to be representing St. Joseph Convent, Kingstown, and I hope to be representing St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
For Hannah Archibald, the latest song star in the ECCU. Hannah, you're excellent. I don't know, but those of us who work in development get a lot of energy and inspiration from our youth. So you encourage us today. Thank you so much. I think I said when we did the prize giving that this is a platform. Why can't you be the next big thing? Whatever. Skinny, Brianna, Hannah. Yeah. That must have been Mom. Exactly, Hannah. That was well said. Let's support our youth. Any which way we can. Let's support our youth. They are not just our future, they are now. So we have to support them now. Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you very much for that. Her mom is with her, her teacher, and of course her colleagues who were part of the winning group in Lanya and Kiosha. So again, thank you so much. We're almost done. In fact, all that's left for me to do is to just conclude, and I will be brief. Today would not have been possible without the support of so many partners. I want to recognize, of course, first and foremost, the presence of Almighty God, for it is in Him we live and move and have our being. Without Him, nothing is possible. We thank God for His presence and power today. We want to thank the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who not only acquiesced through Minister Gonzalez to accept the chairmanship, but also supported the hosting of this meeting through a number of their agencies, ministries, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, and so many other partners. We want to thank the management and staff of Beachcombers Hotel for helping us put together this venue to make it as attractive as it looks and to make us as comfortable as we are. Thank you very much to you, Beachcombers. Soon we will journey to Sunset Shores for the actual meeting and the media conference. And I want to also extend our thanks to the management and staff of Sunset Shores who will assist us with our meeting today. I should also like to recognize our country manager, Ms. Kozel Fraser. Kozel? And our administrative professional, Mrs. Charlene Daniel. Charlene, very hard-working team. Thank you very much, ladies. On the ECCB side, the rest of the ECCB, there are many to thank, but I want to extend thanks to Sherman Kirby. I think that's a familiar name to you in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Our Director of Corporate Relations, Sherman used to be with API. For those of you who don't know where you remember her from, that's where it is, API. And of course, our meetings czar in Miss Acklin Blaise. Where's Acklin? I'm not sure where Acklin is. Supped out somewhere around the place, working as usual. And all of our support, and the police officers, the liaison officers, everyone involved, our drivers, our supporters, thank you very much, everyone, for your support this week. And finally, C.W. Prescott, for your wonderful rendition. By the way, I should let you know we're doing an album and we're putting you on the album. Yeah. No, I'm serious. For the 40th anniversary, we're actually doing an album. So our choir is actually already recording, and we will be putting you on the album. So I didn't ask your permission, but I'm hoping because I asked publicly, you will agree. And Hannah, Lanya, and Kiosha, I hope we could do the same, if that's okay with you. We need to project our youth and give them the platform for them to go as far and wide as they can. And we plan to do just that. So, in conclusion, let me thank all of you for your presence today. Minister Gerard, it was remiss of me, Wayne Gerard, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, for not recognizing. Minister Gerard is actually the alternate council member for St. Lucia. So I want to thank you, Minister Gerard, for always being there and for your presence today as well. Give him a round of applause. Thank you. And to everyone else, I saw Commissioner John earlier and then he left somewhere and I know he's busy. Oh, I actually looked in the room and I didn't see you because I was going to specifically recognize you. So I do want to thank you, Commissioner, for your presence, but also for your support. And the support of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force is long-standing. It's not just this week. We have an ongoing relationship with the Commissioner and his team, and I just want to say thank you. And we're praying for you, and any support we can give you, you can count on ECCB. We are in this together. Crime is everybody's business. We have to fight it together. If you see something, say something. It's not up to the police alone. We have to help them. We have to help them. And young men, young women, whoever is involved, take a different tack. Gang life is no life. Take a different tack. We have some small business opportunities we're supporting. We want to help you to get into those things so that you can express yourselves, make a good livelihood. But please, please, desist from crime. I beg you. Let's remember our police forces across the currency union as they do the very important work of protecting and serving at this time. With that, you're invited to refreshments. Just before you do that, though, I'd like to offer the Governor General's deputy the opportunity to exit the room. So I'd like us to stand and allow the Governor General's deputy to exit. And I want to thank you again for joining us and for gracing you with our presence today. Thank you very much. I will then invite the council members following Governor General's deputy to exit as well. And then after that, you are free to go. So at this moment, we're going to take the photo right here. Right, so council members, right here, before you mix and mingle, let's take the pic. So we're going to do the picture now, and then we will do the socializing a little bit. Refreshments are served. Could you just advise me, it's on this way? Right through the restaurant. So you go to the restaurant, look for the beach. If you find the beach, you should find the restaurant. And we'll see you there. Enjoy it, everyone. God bless you all. Have a great day all. Thank you. Monies.